G'day everybody, how are you going today? It is so very good to see you. I do hope you're very well. Today I want to talk about my expectations from Nikon in regards to hardware releases in 2021. These are guesstimations. They're based on what would make sense, what holes there are in the market. They're based on rumors, which tend to be very strong, especially from our friends at Nikon Rumors, and based on, I suppose, what we can see on the roadmap, not having dates attached to it. So it's a little bit of guesstimating and a little bit of fact, all rolled into what I think 2021 is going to look like for Nikon. So let's dive on in. Now, there's some interesting facts that have come out from BCN in regards to sales in Japan, which cover 2020 market share in Japan. So this is Japan only. It's not indicative of the world, but I suppose it gives us a sense of how things are going. What's really interesting here is that Nikon's market share when it comes to DSLRs is 44.8% of the market, with Canon holding 51.9% of the market. Now this is interesting, and it shows, this I suppose shows why Nikon is hanging in there when it comes to DSLRs.
Okay everybody, I'm just going to butt into the video because a bit of news has broken overnight, landing on our good friend's website at Nikon Rumors. And this is a Nikon executive stating, for the time being, we will concentrate on mirrorless cameras, as we can see up here. And this is from one of Nikon's managing executive officers, head of Nikon imaging business. So this guy knows what he's talking about. He knows what Nikon are doing. And how I read this is it's definitely not going to be the next 6 months for a DSLR f-mount camera. Could even be as many as 12 months. Now, if we go out to 12 months, what we might see at the end of 12 months is the fact that mirrorless is being embraced so strongly that they see no reason to develop any more F cameras. So there's a very good chance that we won't see a new D850 and we won't see a new D500 if this freeze on any further development in F continues much beyond the next 6 to 12 months. My guess is that the sales of the Z6 II and the Z7 II, those cameras have hit the market, and many Nikon users, and we see this in my comments, many Nikon users have seen the release of these cameras as an opportunity to stick their toe in the Z water. So, F-mount users, if you were hoping for a D880 or whatever a D500 replacement was going to be, I would now speculate chances of ever seeing those cameras, certainly this year, at 50-50, and maybe never. I just think this is possible because mirrorless is moving forwards. And the reality is that the D850 and the D500 are still spectacular cameras if you want to go with a traditional DSLR. Let's go back to the video.
So that's it for F-mount bodies. As for more lenses for the F-mount, it's hard to see too many more lenses coming out for the F-mount. There's such a wide range, such a deep bench of Nikon f-mount lenses available in the world that really cover everything you could possibly think of. And from my perspective, if you're looking for what's next, what's new for optical improvements, and you are a professional or enthusiast, you would get your hands on a well-priced second-hand Z7 and start to test it out. Let's say if you want to do astrophotography and you want the very best glass today, well, you would be getting the Z primes. And that would not be a particularly expensive investment to just start playing on that front. So I don't think we will see any more f-mount glass, and if there is, maybe one or two lenses, but I don't think a lot of effort is going to be going into f-mount glass because there is so much fantastic f-mount glass already in both first party and third party options. And also, as I talked about in this previous video here, look, Nikon need to optimize, they need to make choices, and I would have thought developing F-mount glass when they're just about to deliver probably the last 1 or 2 F-mount bodies ever doesn't seem to make sense. And there's so many F-mount lenses to choose from at this point anyway. So let's talk about mirrorless now. The mirrorless, what's on the roadmap for the mirrorless camera bodies? Well, nothing official at all is on the roadmap. The world is screaming for, and Nikon, if you're listening, I think us Nikon users, and for the sake of also the naysayers out there, we would love any little tidbits of information regarding a potential D850/D880 mirrorless version from Nikon. We would love to hear about that. So I do think that camera that probably fits around the R5 in the Canon space, Nikon needs to deliver that camera, and they need to tell us about it soon, and they need to deliver it this year. Super important that that happens. Even so, the Z7 II is standing up really well, and it's a more affordable option. There are things about the R5 which are superior, and there are things about the Sony A7R IV which are superior as well. And there's a good chance that we might see a Sony A7R V this year, further upping the ante. So I personally think with all of that pressure that we will very much see a D850, D880 mirrorless version sometime this year. I think we'll hear about it hopefully in the next 1 to 4 months, and I suspect we will see it in the second half of this year. That's my wild guess. So that's full frame. Will it be 45 megapixels? Will it be 60 megapixels? Well, personally, I don't think I really think I need 60 megapixels, but then you start using it and maybe you change your mind, who knows. I would be happy for it to be in the R5 space, you know, in that 45, 46 megapixel package. And personally, I'd like to see 8K, but not overheating, personally. But it's not a deal breaker for me if it didn't have 8K. What's going to happen in the cropped sensor space? Now, because the Z mount is unified and you can mix and match all the different lenses with all the different bodies at this point, I think there's a good chance Nikon might come in even lower than the Z50 with what is rumored to be the Z30. An even more affordable camera able to utilize the Z mount, I think, is a great way to get in new people into the mount. People who perhaps own a mobile phone and think, I want to do a little bit more than what my mobile phone achieves. I'm sure there are people out there. I know we think everybody's migrating away from cameras just to camera phones, but there would be people out there who kind of go, oh, I really wish I had taken that picture, well, not with my phone because I want to blow it up larger. So those people exist, and a Z30 with a lens or a twin lens kit, even cheaper than the Z50, I do think it has a place in the world. So the fact that we've only had one cropped sensor, DX size, from Nikon so far, I think there's a very good chance we will see a Z30 sometime in the next 12 months. And what adds further strength to that notion is the recently discontinued 3500 and 5600 cameras. Both DX cameras would make you certainly think that they're making way for some more crop sensor cameras in their future. And of course, Nikon believes their future is mirrorless. So that certainly adds weight to the notion that we will see a Z30, a very much entry-level crop sensor camera soon. Perhaps even as soon as the first half of this year, that might be possible. So yes, I do believe we will see something like a Z30. But what about the other end? What about the D500 end of the spectrum? I do think Nikon would like to give us the D500 version of a mirrorless camera, but I think it's not as high priority as the D850, D880 mirrorless version. So if that is coming, I think it would come after that camera. And then there's the final other camera, the rumored Z9, which may or may not exist, which is more of your D6 replacement. High frame rates, lower pixel count, super tough, larger, professional body, and would be the sort of thing that you might see at the Olympics. So which would it be? Which would you prefer to see? Would you prefer to see the mirrorless D6, or would you prefer to see the mirrorless D500? And I think those two cameras would be vying for Nikon's attention, and they would have to be thinking about which should we bring out. Now, I could argue that if the DSLR D500 upgrade is coming as a DSLR, then maybe it's not as essential, and they might put the crop sensor high-end mirrorless body on hold for now. That would be my guess. So I think we're more likely to see the Z30 entry-level crop sensor camera, the mirrorless D850/D880, the R5 sort of equivalent, and then third, maybe this year, something that replaces or something that sits alongside the D6 in the mirrorless space. That's my guess. That's my guess for 2021 in the mirrorless body lineup. Now, as for lenses, well, we have a lens roadmap, but we don't have any idea when anything's coming. On there, we have things like the 85mm 1.2. I think that sort of lens would probably make sense arriving with the D880, D850 mirrorless body. So I'm going to guess the second half of this year. There's also a couple of pancake lenses, the 28, I think it is, and a 40mm. I'm super excited about those. They could slide onto any of the bodies and just make them super compact. I would have thought they're easier to manufacture because they're smaller, and it's something that they could get out there and that they would sell a lot of. Reading through my comments over the last year, a lot of people are interested in them. They'll be affordable, and they're just something that's useful and versatile. I'd like to think we'd see at least one of them this half of this year. Then there's the 100 to 400mm zoom lens that a lot of people are excited about. I also think we will see that this year. There's also the 400mm and 600mm primes. Now they are going to be serious high-end lenses, and I would expect to see them again coming after the D850/D880 mirrorless arrives, or even after the D6 equivalent Z9 arrives. One of those, I think we'll see one of those this year in the second half of this year. Which would you prefer to see first, the 400 or the 600? Let me know in the comments below. There's also two macro or micro lenses on the roadmap, a 50mm and a 105. The 105 is an S-class lens. Again, a lot of people are interested in this lens. I hear a lot about it. I think that will be the first one that we see of those two, and I would expect to see that later this year. Second half of this year would be my guess. And another lens which is very popular is the 24 to 105. Now, interestingly, this is designated as an S lens. So it's going to be very high quality as well as being really useful, a great travel lens. So I'm really interested in this lens, and I think a lot of people will purchase this as a great all-rounder travel lens. I would expect that we might see this later this year, probably second half of this year, because a lot of people will be interested. And now that the Z6 II and the Z7 II are being more warmly and highly accepted than the original versions, there are a lot more Z mount cameras out there now. And there's also the 200 to 600mm zoom lens, which is not an S lens, but I do think it would be a very popular lens. And presumably you'll be able to use the teleconverters with a lens like that, making it a 400 to 1200 if you're using the 2x. This is super exciting stuff, and again, I think this would be a very popular lens. I'm not 100% sure when we'll see this one because some of these lenses have to come out next year, so I'm going to put it in the late this year or next year category. And then there's one more lens yet to come on this list, which is the 18 to 140 DX lens. That sounds to me like a kit lens to come with maybe the Z30 that we were talking about before. It makes sense because it would be something like a 27 to 210 lens. That's a fantastic kit lens to have on an entry-level camera. So when the Z30, if it's the Z30 comes, that will be a lens that comes with it. So please tell me, what do you think of all of that? Are you excited by any of those new bodies? Perhaps a mirrorless D850 or D880? Perhaps the entry-level Z30? Which lenses would you like to see first? And are there any on the roadmap missing that you really wish was on the roadmap already? Please let me know in the comments below. So fantastic to see you today. I do hope you're well. And if this is your first time here, I would love to see you again. So please subscribe, please share, and please like. Also, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who grabbed themselves a signed orange book. As I thought, there was sort of 50, 60, 70 left on the shelf. We're about halfway through those now. So if anybody would still like a very special, very rare orange jacketed, and I will sign it, version of the orange book, you can click in the link below. Also, we still have a few calendars left, and we've got, what, 11 good months left of 2021, so you can grab one of those as well. All right. It has been so good to see you. Please, you stay safe. And I just wanted to show you something miraculous that I found at the warehouse. This is my first ever 16 megabyte CF card from I think it's 1997. And that to me is pretty amazing. Anyway, I just had to show you that. 16 megabytes, crazy. See ya. Lights are off, mic is off, using the on-camera mic on the Z6 II. The last thing I wanted to mention is, and it's not a conspiracy theory, I genuinely think it's possible for the Z mount to have the small GFX 100 or Hasselblad X1D style sensor fit in there and still be a completely workable camera. I do think it would be amazing if Nikon did this. I think it would affect their fortunes positively, but I do think it won't happen in 2021 because they've got too much on their plate. But if things track as their financials suggested, that they will be in profit this year, later this year, and certainly even more profit the following year, I could see the Z mount small, medium format camera for 2022. I think it's possible. It's possible. Will they do it? A lot of it depends on the camera market itself. Is it large enough to support such an idea? But if some or even all of the Z lenses can do it, I don't see why not. It really wouldn't be that big a stretch to put that larger sensor, which is tried and tested and has been in the market, out there. Anyway, this is just the end of the movie, after the credits, last thought, a little bit of a teaser for the future ahead.